You are making fun of me. I'm leaving after saying this. Malala left the show. What happens when one of the world's most inspiring figures sits down for what should be a light-hearted conversation, only for the moment to transform into something far more powerful? In less than 15 minutes, an ordinary talk show appearance would turn into an unforgettable exchange. Part laughter, part truth, and entirely human. Malala Yousafzai walked onto the set that morning glowing with calm confidence, unaware that what began as a routine interview would leave the audience silenced, moved, and forever changed. It started with warmth and excitement. The host greeted her with enthusiasm, beaming from ear to ear. "Welcome to the show. I'm honored to have you here." Cameras flashed. The crowd applauded, and the energy in the studio felt bright, electric, full of admiration. Malala, graceful and unshaken, smiled with gratitude. "Thank you for having me," she said softly. "I'm excited to be here." The conversation opened simply enough, about her new book, Finding My Way, set to release the next day. There was laughter as they spoke about New York, her travels, and the small joys of city life. Malala's eyes lit up when she talked about food, about walking through streets filled with life, and about her quest for the perfect slice of pizza. "Everyone talks about Joe's," she said with a grin. The line was too long. I didn't get to try it. The host chuckled. "You're Malala. You can skip the line." The crowd roared with laughter. It was easy, effortless, natural. The kind of television that makes you smile without realizing it. Then, as the discussion deepened, something began to shift. The host leaned forward, intrigued as Malala described her new initiative, Recess, a project born from the quiet injustice she experienced as a child. "When I was young, boys played outside," she explained, "but girls were told to stay behind. We weren't allowed to run, to shout, to play." Her voice didn't rise, but the conviction in her words filled the room. "That's what I want to change. I want girls to have the same freedom. I want recess to mean joy for everyone." The crowd broke into applause. You could feel the energy shift, not from admiration, but from understanding. The host nodded, caught in the sincerity of the moment. "That's beautiful," they said softly. "Girls can do it. They can do anything," but Malala wasn't finished. The conversation, once playful, now carried weight. She spoke of her journey, of studying, of finding herself in the quiet chaos of college life. "I've been in the public eye for a long time," she said. "But college was where I learned who I really was." She paused, her expression tender, reflective. "I learned that vulnerability is strength, that uncertainty is part of growing, and that it's okay not to have everything figured out." The host leaned closer. "That's powerful," they said, visibly moved. "It's hard to imagine someone like you ever doubting herself." Malala smiled faintly. "I doubt myself every day," she admitted. "But doubt isn't weakness. It's how we learn to trust ourselves again." The audience was silent. Even the cameras seemed to pause, capturing a moment of raw truth that television rarely sees. Then came laughter again, a gentle release from the intensity. They spoke about college parties, about trying to fit in, about the 1980s-themed night where Malala's friends dressed her up in neon and glitter. The host laughed so hard they could barely speak. "You? Neon? Sunglasses? That's amazing." Malala nodded, laughing. "It was my first time at a party. I had no idea what 80s aerobics was. My friends had to explain everything." It was a glimpse behind the headlines, a reminder that the world's youngest Nobel laureate was also just a young woman learning to live, laugh, and make mistakes like everyone else. But then the mood shifted once more, this time not to tension but to reverence. The host asked about her work in Pakistan, about the school she had built for girls in her hometown, the dream that began in defiance and grew into hope. Malala's tone softened, but her voice carried immense power. "When I walked through that school," she said, "I saw the first class of girls who would graduate. For the first time, there's a school just for them, in a place where people once said girls shouldn't learn." The studio went still. Every word carried weight. "I told them," she continued, "it's okay to feel scared. It's okay to not have all the answers. The important thing is to keep going, to keep learning, and to keep believing that you belong." Tears filled the host's eyes. "That's beautiful," they whispered. But Malala wasn't done. Her calm presence grew stronger, her message sharper. So many people see me as a symbol, she said, but I want them to know I'm real. I'm 28 now. I'm married, I make mistakes, I laugh, I love to cook, I lift weights, I still struggle with self-doubt. But that's what life is, a constant discovery. I don't want to be remembered just as a girl who fought for education. I want to be remembered as a woman who lived fully, who kept growing. The audience erupted into applause. Some stood. The camera caught the host wiping away tears before speaking. That's what makes you extraordinary. You remind us that heroes are human too. Malala reached for her book, opening to a passage she wanted to share. Her voice was soft but unshakably steady as she read. You might inherit an identity and feel obliged to carry it, even as it crushes you. But someday the river may rise and carry you away to a new place. You can fight it, cling to the shore, or you can let go. Trust the water to hold you. Trust yourself to float. The words hung in the air like music. The crowd rose again, not with cheers this time, but with reverence, the kind of applause that feels like gratitude. When the show cut to commercial, no one spoke. The crew, the host, even the audience, all were frozen in the echo of her words. It wasn't a walk-off or a confrontation. It was something far rare. A live moment that transcended entertainment. A moment of truth. What was meant to be just another promotional interview had become a reflection of strength, growth, and grace under light. Malala hadn't just promoted her book. She had reminded the world what courage sounds like when it speaks softly, what wisdom looks like when it smiles, and what hope feels like when it's real. That morning she didn't just leave the stage. She left an entire audience changed.